This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So baseball is kind of right around the corner, or if you care about spring training, it's back. But is bad baseball king of this? We'll get to that a little bit later. And Strohs, I have a very uncomfortable texting situation to bring up with you in a little bit. I'm really curious to see how that goes.
I want to know what she thinks. Like, what did you text her? Did you send nudes?
Neither of them were her.
Oh, none of them were
her.
Okay.
But it's still very uncomfortable. We'll be getting to that later as well. But I want to get right into it today because
he's out here texting dudes trying to pick up guys. I love it.
I was
like, no.
already frustrated with you as we're trying to schedule this via text. I'm just trying to ask you like a simple question, and you just couldn't answer the question I was asking you. And lately, it's sounding like this situation maybe isn't the most likely, but should the NFL draft get here and Chase Young is on the board for the Lions, which probably means Burrow went 1 and someone traded up to 2 for Tua, I think most Detroit sports fans, most Lions fans, most people in national media, like everybody, Strohs, thinks Chase Young is a no-brainer. Now, if it's Tua there, if Chase Young goes 2, I know you want Tua. Well, unlike myself, some people want them to trade. Some people might want them to take Okudah or Simmons or Brown or any number of guys. But if Chase Young is on the board, I think for most of us, he's a no-brainer. That's why I didn't even really want to discuss what we wanted the Lions to do at 3, because that was kind of, we haven't actually had that discussion, and that's kind of where you wanted to go with this. And through texting you, I learned you don't even want them to go Chase Young at 3 if he's there.
I think if Chase Young is there, and I love the way we show prep because it is just a battle between
hold on.
It is
like
a lot of back
prep,
and forth.
I was just really annoyed with you last night, because I asked you the same question like 3 times, and you answered a different one every time. Like, you never answered the question I sent you.
I was
getting, I don't know how distracted you were, but I can't imagine you were.
I'll be honest with you. I was in the middle of recording a podcast while we're.
Yeah. I knew you weren't actually paying attention because I asked you a super basic question 3 different times, and you never actually answered it.
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good.
I was trying to multitask.
We got here, and now I know you don't want to draft Chase Young.
It's not so much that I don't want to draft Chase Young. All right, I think if he's there, it becomes a really, really difficult question. I think
it becomes the easiest question, but go ahead.
I think that if Chase Young is on the board and you're at 3 and you're the Detroit Lions and the trade offers for you to move back, because I'm assuming there's going to be a trade offer there, whether it be from Miami, whether it be from Carolina, whether it be from the Chargers or even the Raiders. I think there's going to be a trade offer there. So if the Lions don't like that trade offer and they're going to stay at 3 and you've got your picks between Chase Young or Isaiah Simmons, I think it becomes really difficult, and I am leaning towards taking Isaiah Simmons. I think Isaiah Simmons comes in and helps fix some of this defense, and I'm going to explain why I believe this. And these are basically the words straight out of Matt Patricia's mouth. Matt Patricia likes guys who are flexible, guys who can play multiple positions, and guys who can do any number of things. Isaiah Simmons is a guy who you might refer to him as a tweener, right? He's not necessarily the biggest outside linebacker. He can't really play inside, but he's a guy who can line up on the line in edge rush. He's a guy who can line up outside. He's a guy who can cover at tight end. He's a guy who has even said, yeah, I don't care. I'll drop back and play safety. This is a guy who you can move all over the defense. Matt Patricia loves guys like that. To me, it seems like Isaiah Simmons might be the pick at 3 if the Lions do not like anything that's coming in as far as a trade offer.
Hold on now. So a couple problems here. One, this whole scenario, the scenario where Chase Young is available, I don't think the trade offers is as much of a given because it means Tua went at 2. Chase Young will not be there at 3 if Tua doesn't go at 2. So I think if Chase Young is there, the Lions are probably picking at 3. Here's my next problem, Strohs. If what you're trying to tell me is what the Lions will do, I'm with you. Like, I think Simmons is very much in play. I said that a few weeks ago. I think it's either wide receiver or Simmons if they stay at 3. But as far as what they should do, I don't care what Matt Patricia wants. I don't think he's going to be here. I mean, maybe he's here 2 more years, but I think that's the extent of it at the most. I think Simmons could be a really good player. My problem is I've been trying to go back and look at it, Strohs. some positions just hit more consistently at different spots in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Elite pass rushers don't miss very often. I mean, seriously, like go back through the recent pass rushers. I'm on 2016 right now, just scrolling back year by year. Pass rushers who go in the top 10 are pretty consistently really good. And Chase Young is being called best we've seen since blank. Like, I don't know what the answer is. People are saying he's better than either of the Bosa's was.
But don't you have any concerns? Because from what I remember, the Bosa showed up in big games. Chase Young disappeared. He got small in big games. When the spotlight was the brightest, Chase Young disappeared. And look, I get that he can get to the quarterback, and I get that he's exceptional at everything you need a pass rusher to do. But that seems to be the one skill set he has. And then in the biggest moments,
what else do you want out of him?
Well, in the biggest moments, he's become a very small player instead of being that big player that you need, the guy to make that all-important stop or the guy to get that all-important sack. He hasn't been that guy. Whereas Isaiah Simmons has played on – look, that Clemson defense wasn't very good this year. The guys in front of him weren't very good. He fixed a lot of mistakes for that defense. He's a guy who I think you can bring into Detroit. You could put him on the outside, and he's going to help strengthen that defense. I think Chase Young would help strengthen the defense too, but I'm very nervous about him in big games. I'm very, very nervous about him in big games.
Let me go through some of these top pass rushers for you that we've seen recently because it's incredible the consistency with which they hit. So this last year, Nick Bosa at 2, Pro Bowler his rookie year. Josh Allen at 7, Pro Bowler his rookie year. Cleveland Farrell as well. Honestly, I'm not so sure of how well he did with the Raiders, but 2 of the 3 Pro Bowler in year 1. How about the year before that? You had Bradley Chubb, rush linebacker. Not the same level of success in year 1 that those guys had, but still a high end pass rusher. Go back 2017. Myles Garrett's a Pro Bowler already. Not really a whole lot else in the top of that. And let me go back one more year, but it's consistent, dude. Like these elite pass rushers in the top of the draft, Joey Bosa the year before that, Pro Bowler. DeForest Buckner that same year, Pro Bowler. Like these guys who've been taken, and I think there's something to that. I do. I think certain positions, we get a better read on them in college. And the read on Chase Young, like I don't have an answer for you as to why he didn't show up in big games. I know he's commented himself, like look at how the defenses were designed entirely to stop him. But what everybody who has any credibility as a draft expert is telling us that Chase Young is the best pass rushing prospect we've seen in years. And all these dudes are Pro Bowlers. If he's this big, like I'm trying to think of the last guy who felt this can't miss at any position. And the name that comes to my mind is honestly Andrew Luck. I remember Andrew Luck being given that absolutely can't miss tag. And since then, I can't remember anyone who had quite that same level of love. And Chase Young's getting that. And here's the other thing. Not only do defensive end / pass rushers seem to hit with consistency at the top of the draft, but so do Ohio State guys. And like, you might not like it being a Michigan fan, and I get that. But the truth of the matter is, like,
look, I totally understand. I totally get it. I do not wear maize and blue glasses, right? I mean, I want the best for Michigan all the time, but I'm a realist. I understand where they fall. And look, it's been very, very frustrating if you're a Michigan fan the last couple of years, especially underneath Jim Harbaugh. It's been irritating, if anything else. So I get it. But go ahead.
Well, obviously, the thing is, I'm not even trying to tell you, like, Ohio State turns out pro players. Like, obviously, we all know that. But the point is, like, I think some schools have a higher success rate of turning out successful pro players, and Ohio State's one of them. And there's just a lot. So everyone's telling me Chase Young is the best pass rush prospect we've seen in a long time. He's coming out of a school that typically has a high success rate in their pro prospects actually working out. He plays a position that we've seen generally work out when drafted high. It just seems very like low risk. And if you can go out and get a low risk elite pass rusher, I think it's hard to argue there's anything else on defense you'd rather have. Simmons is interesting, and he's a guy who at the end of the day, if the Lions take Isaiah Simmons, I'm not going to be mad. I will be frustrated if they take him over Chase Young. I'm curious to know if anyone else thinks that, like, because in my mind, if Chase Young is there, it's a no-brainer. It's not a no-brainer as to what they will do. I think it's very possible they go in another direction. I mean, the Lions have showed us they don't prioritize pass rush, and they do prioritize flexibility. But I want to know on Twitter at Brendan Riley _ at Adam Marstroz, if it goes 1 Burrow, 2 Tua, or anything else that gets Chase Young to 3, is there any scenario for you where you don't want Chase Young? Because I didn't even think this was a discussion. I didn't think we'd like, honestly, Strohs, when we were planning the show, I was a little, I don't want to say nervous. I knew we'd do a good job. But I didn't have a plan for a third topic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think this was a discussion. So like, I mean, you've told me your thought process, and I don't know.
I want to counter the high end pass rushers usually hit in the NFL, because you can say the same thing about linebackers. Josh Allen last year, he was a Pro Bowl player. You go back to 2018, going through the ranks here, you've got Van Der Esch for Dallas. He's a Pro Bowl player. You've got Tremaine Edmonds. He's a Pro Bowl player. You go to 2017. 2017 was the year that the Lions took Jared Davis, who, in my estimation, is a total bust. But you've got T.J. Watt going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 30 there. So, I mean, you can make the same case. Generally, good teams.
None of those guys have the same makeup. Like, all those guys are either pass rushers or more traditional linebackers. Isaiah Simmons is not Isaiah Simmons. I mean, he can be a pass rusher as a linebacker, but he definitely doesn't have the traditional linebacker build. Like you said yourself, he's going to play some safety. He's going to play some linebacker. He might even play some slot corner. That's not to say that he can't succeed by any means, but like, I just don't think those guys are the same example. Whereas Joey Bosa is a pure defensive end pass rusher. Nick Bosa, pure defensive end pass rusher. Myles Garrett, pure defensive end pass rusher. Chase Young, pure defensive end pass rusher. Like, these guys are all much more similar than the linebackers you're naming.
What is your concern with Simmons? Is it because of his build? Because he's under 240, right? He's 6'4", under 240. Whereas Chase Young is, I think, like 6'4", 6'5", and he's like 265. So is it because he has a slighter build?
No, it's not even concerned with Simmons. Like I said, Simmons is a guy. If the draft goes Burrow, Young, and then they take Simmons, I'm cool with it. It's not that I have an issue with Simmons. He's one of the guys I like in that spot. But Chase Young, like, here's my problem. Defensively, there is nothing I think you should be more interested in than an elite pass rusher. And everything I'm seeing tells me that Chase Young is going to be an elite pass rusher. So if that's the case, there's nothing better than him on the defensive side of the ball. There's nothing I'd rather have. So it has nothing to do with Simmons' weaknesses. It has to do with Chase Young's strength. His strength is the single most desired strength on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm being told that he's better at it than anyone we've seen in a recent draft.
But can't you go out and facilitate that position either through free agency or drafting a guy maybe a little bit later? Whereas
that is the single most desired position in the league. So you're going to pay for it. Can you do it in free agency? Sure. If you do it in the draft, you get to take a guy who is the single most desired position on defense, and for 5 years, get him at a cap controlled. I'm telling you, nothing helps the defense like a cap controlled pass rusher.
And I get that. I understand that. But I don't know. I think having a solid linebacking core is much more important to building your defense. I think if you can get a guy, I mean, I remember those old bulk.
Are you 60?
Maybe. I mean, I am older than you.
Got to build it with the linebackers. No, man, you need to build it with the pass rush.
Yeah, look, I get it. I think we both agree when you build on either the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, you build through the lines, right? You build through the trenches. I get that. All right. They have some guys on this team. Do I think any of them are as impactful as Chase Young might be? I don't know. I don't necessarily think so. Trey Flowers was solid. I don't think he was great. I don't know if he was necessarily worth his contract. But you have some guys on the line here. Your linebacking core has been absolute trash forever and a day now. Jared Davis, I don't think is very good. Jelani Tavai, I'm not really sure what his ceiling is going to be. I think Isaiah Simmons could really help flesh out that linebacking core and give you a piece that you could build around.
So if you're talking needs-based, I think there's a case there. My problem is at 3. If you need both, because they do. Mm-hmm. They probably need Simmons more, but they do need both. And if you need both, I think it's insane to pass up on the guy who's supposedly the better prospect and does the more valuable thing.
I think what's going to end up happening, what it's going to come down to is who the Lions see as more that can't miss prospect. And if this situation does play out, it will probably be Chase Young. just because, like you said, all the draft. No, I'm just saying all the draft
It's funny 'cause
analysts.
I see it the other way. I see it.
Oh, you see
I'm
Isaiah
not-
Simmons? It's just
I think
because
they
is it because of the Lions' nature? Is that why?
I think they take Chase Young, but I think Isaiah Simmons is a lot more in play than he should be.
Yeah. And look, I like his versatility. I was blown away at how fast this guy was. This is a dude who runs essentially like a running back, and his versatility, I think, makes him so intriguing and makes him so interesting, especially with what Matt Patricia values. And this is what it is too, right? So when you look at when you do it like a mock draft, or you're trying to put things together and you're trying to guess who the Lions might go with, you got to try to look at this the way Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia look at it. And look, I know you don't believe they're going to be here next year. I totally believe they're going to be here next year.
Well, I think they could be here next year. No, I think
they're
be here
still
next
going to be
year.
here.
But I think 2 years is the cap. But
They value versatility. all right?
absolutely,
And
I think
because
it's very
of
much a
that,
play for them.
and because of that, I think it might be Isaiah Simmons. And I don't.
I think
and
it's
look,
very possible that it is.
and if he goes at 3, I don't know if I'm really upset about that. I just don't. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to show up at Allen Park and I'm going to be ready to burn the gate down and storm.
Well, I hope there's
storm the
no
complex.
scenario. I hope there's no scenario where we're talking about you showing up at Allen Park and burning anything down. But Strohs, again, coming up later on, is bad baseball king of this. Of course, Tigers, we're going to be talking about there. But Strohs, coming up in just a second. I had quite the odd accidental text. And no, I didn't send any nudes, in case you're wondering,
Send those
Strohs.
wiener pics, didn't you?
But I am going to need some help figuring out what's the best way to handle this coming up next. So I'm sure this part's going to be fun on social media, teasing this topic. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say yet, but I'm sure it'll be fun. So to set up the situation, Strohs, the show after me at my current job is probably just all in total the people I'm closest with. I'm like the producer, and both the 2 hosts are probably 3 of my closest friends down here. I was trying to hang out with one of the hosts last night, and I go to text him and see if he's free after the show. And I text the producer on accident. I've never done anything like this before. And I think it's interesting because I'm trying to hang out with one dude, texted somebody else, asked if he's free after the show. And I'm like, crap. Like, what do I do now? And the thing is, like, I just had dinner with the producer on Friday too. And so it's only Wednesday at the time. And I'm like, hey, man, you want to grab food? And it's like, I don't know. It almost felt weird in a way because we hadn't hung out before Friday. It's like, hey, like, I miss you is what it felt like almost. And I'm like, man, like I really want to hang out with this other guy. Like I told you some news that I don't want to share on here yet, but I wanted to talk to the host about it. So like I was really looking to hang out with this guy, but I've already asked somebody else to hang out. And it's not like they don't know each other. Like they work on the same damn show. Like, I don't know what the proper etiquette to handle this is. Like, how would you have handled that? Do you tell him, hey, man, sorry, this text wasn't for you?
No, I don't think. Like, first of all, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
How do you mix them up? Are they like in your phone? You have like open messaging threads, and you just happen to click on the wrong one? Or they have similar names?
So no, their names aren't that similar. But here's the thing. So one's name is Jake, and one's name is Jose, and I save most of my contacts in my phone. If for their last name, I don't save their last name. I save them what I know them as, like what I know them by, rather. So like they both say SB Nation. So it's Jake SB Nation and Jose SB Nation.
That's how I do it too. So like I've got you in my phone as Brendan Riley, iHeartMedia.
Yeah, I got you as Adam Stroh's iHeart. And so I honestly just typed in J and saw SB Nation and clicked the wrong one.
Oh.
And the thing was, like, full disclosure, I was sitting at a stoplight, so I was like trying to get it in quick, and I didn't even notice it until the next red light I got to, and I was like, oh God, I sent it to the wrong guy.
So in your haste, you selected the wrong guy.
Yeah.
So okay, this is how I would probably handle this. I think now you're pot committed. Like you have to go to lunch with Jake's the producer, right?
No, Jose's the producer.
You totally have to go to lunch with Jose now.
So that's the thing, right? So that was like my thought process. Here's how I ended up handling it. I was like, okay, if he says yes, I guess we're gonna hang out. Like, I like the guy. Like, we're kind of close too. I'm not as close with him as I am Jake, but we're kind of close too. And I was like, I'll have a good time either way. Like, I don't get to talk to Jake about the news I want to talk to him about, but that's fine. We'll talk later.
Mm-hmm.
And then he texts me and he says, sorry, man, like busy today, which is like get out of jail free card.
You got to get, for sure.
But here's where there's a little bit of where it's still kind of complicated. Is that now I still want to text Jake and see if Jake can hang out, right? Yeah. I still want to talk to Jake about this.
So you totally text Jake.
But there are what I don't want to happen is I don't want Jake to go, oh, I see, I'm the second option. When in reality, he was the only person I was trying to text in the first place.
I think when you go to lunch with Jake or you go to dinner with Jake or drinks or whatever you're going to do, I think you just explain what happened. Like, so funny story about all this. So I meant to text you and I accidentally text Jose. And
so here's what I did.
Thank goodness Jose gave me the get out of jail free card.
Here's what I did do. As soon as he said no, I texted Jose. I said, hey, man, not going to lie, didn't even mean to ask you.
No. For real.
But, yeah, dead serious. But I also said, if you said yes, though, I was just going to hang out anyways. And then I sent another text and said, but I'm down to grab food again sometime soon.
I like how you covered all your bases there. Because I'll be honest with you, you kind of sound like a jerk when you do it like that. Didn't mean to text you, bro. Thank God you said no.
I didn't say thank God. I was like, hey, man, like, I haven't hung out with Jake in a while, which is true. And I was trying to they all know this news. So, I mean, I feel like that gives me a little bit of a little bit of leeway too, as they all know it. So like, hey, like, I just want to talk to Jake about this. And so I felt that help, but dude, it was so awkward. I've never been in that situation before. Like, I'm sure you've probably sent something to the wrong person, just knowing you. And it was probably worse than this, but this is new for me.
Yes, I have.
Is it? Well, you don't need to give the story, but you have for real.
There was a time I meant to send something to one girl, and I ended up sending it to another girl because I was talking to like two or three of them at a time, and I was like, oh crap, like how thank God I was able to like think of my feet really quickly, and I was able to cover it all up. Like, oh yeah, I meant to send it, yeah. But no, that has happened. I think it's happened to everybody. And mine was the situation where I had like their names were stacked on each other in my phone, so I just grabbed the wrong thread and sent the wrong text message. And
I don't think it helps. I don't think it helps me. Like I'm sending text. I send so many texts all day long for my job because like I'm booking guests. Mm-hmm. So it's just I'm not even thinking. Sometimes when I'm sending a text that's not important, it's just like in the back of my mind. I do have to imagine a lot of us have done this, and this is the worst. When you're texting about somebody and you accidentally send it to them.
To that person.
You've done it, right?
No, I don't think I've ever done that.
I can't think of a time, and I don't think anything I've done has been like negative enough to be an issue. But I have done it for sure. I am curious to hear.
How do you get out of a situation like that? You're calling somebody out.
Well, no, it's not always calling somebody out, and that's why, like, I don't think I've ever done it in a situation where it was like a devastating issue. To just like be completely honest, where it comes into play for me is I play 2K Pro-Am, which if you don't know is basically you play with 4 other people. You play 5-on-5 2K. Everyone plays one player. And I've definitely texted one person I'm playing with about somebody else I'm playing with. And when it's just a critique about the game, I feel like even if you send it to the wrong person, that's not the end of the world. Like, dude, this guy's shooting too many bad shots. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to like cause a major issue. But I've definitely done something like that before.
Yeah, I've never done that. I
haven't done it in a while. I can't think of one, but it's definitely like a heart drop moment. Even if you almost do it, I've definitely almost done it too. Now, if you have any stories you want to share, they can be cleaner, like just trying to hang out with the wrong guy. They can be texting somebody you were talking about, or they can be Stroh's version of the story at Brendan Riley _ on Twitter at Adam R. Strohs. And by the way,
I want the stories where you guys send the dick pics to the wrong chick or accidentally your mother. I want those stories. Who has those? I want those.
If you don't want to put them out publicly, you're welcome to DM us. I know
direct message us, please.
Yeah, either one's fine. We're not going to share your stories with each other or anybody else, but we'd love to hear them.
I just want a good laugh.
I also want to know how should I have handled it? I have a feeling most people are going to agree I come off as a dick. I don't know. I feel like in the situation, like there's just so much context necessary that I can't give you.
Well, let me put it
felt like the right situation.
Let me put it to you like this. I think if you have that type of relationship with those guys where you can just be blatantly honest like that and nobody's going to get hard feelings or get upset or hurt by it, then I think you're fine.
Well, I think when I get into work today, I'm going to get crap from Jose.
As you should.
Right. But I think that kind of like the fact that will happen kind of deals with it. You know what I mean? Like if it was the kind of relationship where he'd be quiet about it and act like nothing happened, I think I'd be more concerned about telling him. But because I know like I'm gonna go in and he's gonna give me crap. Like I feel like that's kind of like, hey man, like that was my bad. I'm sorry. Like I want to hang out. I just like needed to talk to Jake.
I mean, I think you're okay then.
I have one more wrinkle.
Okay, I like how you're holding back.
There's a third guy on the show. Well, actually, I was planning on moving on because we do need to talk about is bad baseball the king of this. But there's a third guy on the show who I'm friends with.
Okay,
one of my closer friends here. He's the only one I didn't text to hang yesterday. And Jake said no, by the way. So Jose said no, Jake said no, and I didn't text Cody.
Oh, wait, and Cody's the
third member of the show who I'm friends with.
That's like Jim's boy, right? That guy, Cody?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you don't look good in this at all, bro.
So he's the one I think I look the worst to. And if he gives me crap, which he also very well may, if he gives me crap, I'll say, look, I never meant to text Jose.
Oh man.
I was just looking to hang out with Jake.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like a part of me was like, do I need to text? By the way, I'm no kidding. Jose just texted me.
What did he
unrelated.
say? What did he
it's
say?
Completely unrelated.
Okay.
He's asking me about guests, but Jose just texted me. But I almost think I look worse to Cody than I do to anybody else.
I think so too, especially because you have a small, previously established relationship with Cody, correct?
All three of these guys are three of my closest friends here.
But before you move there,
Cody helped me get the job.
Right, that's the thing. That's why I think you might look the worst to Cody for sure.
Yeah. So I mean,
I love how you're wearing this, dude. This is great.
I think if I only texted Jose, Jose or Jake, I look fine. But because I texted both of them and not Cody, I just look bad in a lot of ways. Feel free to give me the crap. I'm gonna get it. I'm sure as soon as I get into work today, I deserve it. I need to be more careful with my text messages. All right, coming up next is bad baseball, the king of this. So I don't know how the hell we're going to talk about baseball in March. I don't know how we're going to talk about baseball all year. The Tigers are so useless. And when we were trying to come up with our topics for today, Strohs brought up the idea of, would you rather go to opening day or a whole series against the Astros for the Tigers? And I was like, hey, I don't think I want to go to more than one Tigers game. Like, I'm in Houston, so any Tigers game I go to is probably going to be here anyways. But to be honest with you, Strohs, like when I was growing up and when I was in high school and when I was in college, like all my disposable money went to going to Tigers games. And then I went 3 years without going to one while I was in Grand Rapids. I finally went to one for like someone's birthday or something like that. We left. I kid you not, Strohs. We got to the Tigers game in the third inning and left in the fifth.
Wow.
And like, I wasn't the one who facilitated it, but I was certainly fine with it. And so I thought about it. And it's interesting because the Tigers have really only been this bad since like 2016. I mean, they made the playoffs in 2016, didn't they? So 17 was the first year of not making the playoffs. And the Pistons have been useless since 2008. the Lions have given us some fun, but the Lions have been relatively useless my entire lifetime. The Red Wings have been pretty useless for a while too. But for whatever reason, I have bad baseball fatigue. Like, I just can't take it. I cannot take bad Tigers baseball. I don't care about it in the slightest. I still care about the Pistons. Like, I have, we did the topic, and the Tigers were included. We did the topic the other day, as far as there's hope on the horizon. And even though I see it for the Tigers as well, like, I have some level of excitement about it for the Pistons. And I even have some excitement about it for the Red Wings, which should tell you something, because I think hockey's stupid.
We're so different.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, when the Red Wings are good, I'll enjoy watching them. But I just can't watch hockey on a national level, and I can't watch bad hockey on a local level. But bad baseball, I just can't do it. The sport is too slow. If your team isn't winning, if you don't have a very deep invested rooting interest, I can't do it. Like, I'm so out on the Tigers. Honestly, I probably won't watch 10 Tigers games this year. That's probably on the high side. I don't know if I'll watch 5 Tigers games this year. Like, I can't do it. And so I'm kind of curious, like, what team has worn you out the most? I think that's the way to ask that question. Because for me, it's the Tigers, and it hasn't been very long. And that might change your answer, Strohs. So we can do both parts of it. One question is,
I think it works either way, because for me, it really is the Pistons. I was intrigued last year when they made it to the playoffs. I expected what happened to happen. The fact that you got to see Blake Griffin out there on the court with his robo knee blew my mind. But for me, it's the Pistons. Like, bad baseball is what drives you nuts, and you get baseball fatigue from it. Mine is bad basketball. I get basketball fatigue. I'll be honest with you. On my hierarchy of sports, basketball is towards the bottom. I think both of us, football is king for both of us. And then after our number ones, it gets a little bit weird with how they kind of get moved around. But bad basketball, I just can't get invested in. I can't watch it. I don't care to watch it. As far as the Pistons go, I watch them honestly more or less so we have something to talk about. So I know what the hell I'm talking about. Because they're not any fun right now. They're just kind of going through it. I get what's going on. I totally understand where they're at, but I haven't really been invested in a Pistons team since probably 2006, 2007. When did they get Allen Iverson? Was that 2007, maybe 2008 even?
I believe it was 2007, 2008 season.
Okay. So, like, I love Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is like that's my guy. Well,
and they had just gone to the conference finals the year before.
Right. And bringing Allen Iverson in, I was interested to see how this was going to work, because it was such a shift. And I think it was like, because I know that 2004 team is so special to you. So the way things kind of happened, and then Chauncey Billups getting jettisoned, and you bring in AI, I was intrigued by that team. And I think that was probably the last time I was really invested in the Detroit Pistons team, because Allen Iverson coming here was a total mess. It just did not work.
You didn't get any of that excitement in the Stan Van Gundy playoff year?
No, because
there was definitely, like, I mean, short-lived, but there was some excitement that year because Stanley Johnson looked good as a rookie.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson was an all-star. They obviously got swept, but they fought Cleveland for sure. Like,
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was D'ing up LeBron, and it looked like they kind of had a shot until LeBron stopped playing.
So there was definitely some excitement there for a moment.
No, because I didn't think they really stood a chance against that Cleveland team. I mean, like, it was interesting.
No, it wasn't about that, but it was about, like, hey, are we on the way up? Is this the start of something?
No, because I really didn't buy into Stan Van Gundy. So, like, that was kind of where I was at with it. I didn't buy into Stan Van Gundy. I think the way this Piston team has basically been constructed and put together since 2010. It just kind of has been one of those things where it's been, let's try this, let's try that. It just kind of throwing paint at the wall to see kind of what sticks, and maybe we'll like it, maybe we won't. And that's just kind of how I felt about this team.
I actually think that the Pistons stretch should be the most exhausting. It should be the one that's worn you out the most, because they've only made the playoffs twice since, 3 times if you include the year they traded for Allen Iverson. They made the playoffs 3 times since the year they traded for Allen Iverson, and they haven't won a game. They haven't won a game in the playoffs,
which is super frustrating.
Yeah, since they were in the conference finals against, I believe it was the Boston Celtics, with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, just to give you a bit of a timeline there. Like, that was the last time they won a playoff game. And so the Pistons should be wearing you down. I think the thing is, for me, I mean, obviously I like basketball more, but like at least things happen in good basketball or bad basketball. Like the Pistons still have to score points. There are still highlights in bad basketball. Bad baseball, man, is just slow and nothing happens and you don't score runs and you don't strike guys out. And I also think at least the Pistons have had guys that were fun to watch, right? Like, even though he's maybe not the guy you want in what is now a rebuild, Blake Griffin was fun to watch. Reggie Jackson, that year, that playoff year we were just talking about, looked like the dude was going to be an all-star caliber player. There were things to be excited about. Like this Tigers stretch of the last 3 or 4 years, Miguel Cabrera hasn't even been any good. Michael Fulmer's been fun, but then he's all of a sudden you got to worry about injuries. I mean, this last couple of years of Tigers baseball, like, who are you turning on to watch this year? Like, when opening day starts, who are you turning the TV on to watch?
You're hoping to see some of these young kids progress in play. I mean, really and truly, that's what it is.
And when we start to get to that point, I think, like, some of the fatigue will wear off a little bit, but we're not even there yet.
Right.
Like,
no, you're right. You're right.
And I need more than one guy. That's the thing, right? Like, it'll be exciting when Casey Mize gets up. I want to watch Casey Mize starts. But, like, Casey Mize alone isn't going to get me to tune in the Tigers and enjoy myself on a regular basis.
This is going to sound so bad. But I think you watch bad baseball, specifically this Tigers team, to see what you have, right? So, like, last year, I was tuning into bad baseball because I wanted to see what Nick Castellanos was doing. So when the trade deadline rolled around, I could anticipate what they could possibly get for him.
But the problem is we're only getting further and further away from that. Like, they don't even have pieces they're going to trade. Like, there's just nothing, man.
I know. And look, this is why. So I think, I don't know, baseball is just kind of a weird sport because I think it tugs on, if you're a little bit older, and again, I'm a little bit older than you. So if you're a little bit older, I think it kind of tugs on some nostalgia heartstrings. Like, my old man will watch 162 games. I'll go over to his house on a random Thursday. Does he hate himself? Well, he's a gambling degenerate, so he usually is betting on the games.
My dad would watch every Tigers game too when they were good.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
No, man, my dad will watch every single game. It'll always be either on in the background, or he'll be sitting on the couch watching it, or he'll be out in his garage sitting in a lawn chair watching the game on his TV in his garage.
That sounds stressful. That sounds like legitimately like, don't you feel a need to do something in your day that'll like make you happy? Like, I can't spend 3 hours of my free time in my day with that miserable Tigers team.
I mean, it's
talking about this is stressful. I feel like my mood has been brought down since we started this topic.
Well, that last topic was a high, so now we're here.
I mean, no, the last topic was not a high either. The last topic was stressful too. But
it depends on who you are, because where I was sitting, it was great.
But it didn't make me sad. Like shows, if I were to give you the emotion that most describes how I feel in the last 10 minutes while we've been talking about this, it's literally sad. The Tigers make me sad. The Pistons, like, they don't make me happy either, but they don't legitimately make me feel like a sad human being.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. All right.
So I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm an old man when it comes to the Tigers team.
If you had an option, right? If you had an option to either go watch the Pistons play or to go watch the Tigers play, which one are you taking?
I am not going to watch the Tigers play.
Really?
Absolutely.
See, if I had my options, I'm going to go watch the Tigers play.
Hell no.
Dude, I will take a bad baseball game all day long over.
I don't think I'm watching the Tigers play unless I'm getting drunk.
Well, I mean, you get to do that while you go watch the Tigers.
I mean, I guess I can do that anywhere else too. I'm just telling you, like, I don't think I would enjoy a Tigers game sober.
Really?
I do not.
So I find that to be so fascinating. Like, because I think baseball is. Look, I get what you're saying, right? Bad baseball is sometimes very, very difficult to watch, but I think baseball is something that you could just kind of put on in the background. You kind of pop in and out. You can just kind of watch it casually. I think no sport besides maybe hockey is better to be at than baseball. Like hockey, watching a hockey game live, I think is incredible because the guys move so fast. There's so much action. It's up and down. And the Red Wings suck. Like they absolutely blow. I went to a Red Wings game the other day, and it was fantastic. It was an awesome game. It was great. A baseball game, even sitting in the nosebleeds, I still think it's fun to watch. I still think it's fun. The atmosphere, it's good to be there.
It's funny because I've always thought my entire life that the atmosphere of a baseball game was really appealing. And on some level it is. Like when you even have a tolerable baseball team, I think it is. But at the end of the day, those 3 to 4 hours of free time that I'm using on a Tigers game, it's not that I wouldn't enjoy myself at a Tigers game, I guess. It's that I have limited free time and I would rather use it doing something else. That even though it is an enjoyable atmosphere, I can simulate that atmosphere in a bunch of other places. And honestly, Charles, maybe some of it is being in Houston and like in the winter, I go out to bars and sit outside in 70-degree weather. Like that's the same atmosphere to me as going to a terrible Tigers game. And it's a little bit more controlled in that if I leave, I'm not wasting my money. Like I'm actually saving money. It's also not a commitment of 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, dude, I would go to opening day because opening day is a party.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gone to it as a fan, but I've worked opening day. It's been a few years, but I've worked opening day.
See,
and
I the reason I ended up proposing the original topic to you is just because I think it's interesting. I think this year in baseball,
I cannot imagine sitting through a freaking series against the Astros.
Well,
I
just think
I
think it's going to be a really, really interesting year because right now there's one team that everybody hates. And it's the team that you cover and the team that you basically are in the city for. It's the Houston Astros. Everybody hates the Houston Astros. Everybody is throwing at the Houston Astros, and it is making for interesting theater. And we haven't even got to the real games yet. So I find this year to be, I just think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how Houston deals with this because honestly, they're the most hated team in baseball right now. And how does Houston react to all of this? So when Houston comes to Detroit, at some point somebody's getting thrown at and somebody's going to get hit. So do you want the original impetus for that question, which kind of got us to this point, was would you rather go to opening day, not go to the game, but just go basically be downtown, hang out for the party, enjoy opening day, or would you rather go to a series and watch the insanity ensue for what will be 4 games in the middle of August?
I would rather go to one game against the Astros than the game that is opening day.
Mm-hmm.
Just the game. The party, I'm still taking the party of opening day over the Astros. But legitimately, sitting through an entire series with this baseball team is not something I would consider to be enjoyable or a positive in my life. That would be something I would dread. I would not like. It would be on my calendar, and as it got closer, I would legitimately be like, "Man, this is gonna suck."
Mm-hmm. Guys, you can let us know what you think. What is the most painful sport to watch when it is absolutely atrocious? Is it
you out the most?
Is it baseball? Is it hockey? Is it football? Is it basketball? You can text us tweet us at Brendan Riley _ or Adam R STROZ and let us know.
Or you can text Strohs at I'm kidding.
Put it out there. Go ahead.
I feel like you'd be okay with it.
I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't answer any of those calls. So if I don't have you saved to my phone, I'm not answering it.
All right, that's gonna do it for this week. Thanks for listening. This is the Practice Squad.